and welcome to the Big Apple School Podcast, the weekly English show where we speak about everything under the sun. The major goal of this show is to help you improve your English and, of course, learn something new. My name's Katya, I'm your host, and today with me,
Ken from the Philippines.
And
Natalie from Novosibirsk.
Guys, it's no secret that we here at Big Apple School want to grow and become even better. And for this, we need a little bit of your help. So let us know what you think about our podcast. Write to us what you like or maybe what you dislike about our show. Subscribe to our pages on Apple, Yandex, Google, VK, any platform where you listen to our podcast, and let us know what you think. You can rate and review our podcast, give us stars, leave comments, ask questions, and feel free to send your ideas about next episodes. So what do you want us to talk about? We're always looking for new ideas. We want to, make content that is interesting for you. So, and now, Ken, Natalie, I haven't seen you for such a long time, it seems. So what's up? What's new? What's shaking?
Well, I'm just happy that it's spring now. So I'm sure that it's much more interesting to go out and, to go for a walk and just enjoy nature.
Yeah, finally, it's not like, when you wake up at 10 or like 9 and it's
still
dark.
Yeah.
I know, finally the sun is here.
Amen.
Amen. So Natalie, what's up? What's new?
Not much, actually. Lots of work, lots of work, actually.
Oh, what about work-life balance?
No such thing.
You're like, well, work-life what? Yeah, never met her. All right, okay. Well, and I want to share a little bit that it's my birthday soon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so...
Happy birthday. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday in advance. Although you don't have this culture of, greeting somebody in advance, right?
Yeah, I think it's like it's bad luck to do that.
Yeah.
So on the 16th, even though it's not the day when our podcast will, come out, feel free to leave a comment under the podcast and wish me a happy birthday. Yes, I'm very humble. I know it's too much probably. I'm sorry.
So humble.
Sorry. So yeah. Well, and I think one of the reasons why we don't meet that often as I wish we did is that I, fortunately or unfortunately, work online. So I'm only working remotely, whereas you guys, you work offline, right?
Offline and online.
So you have like mixed work. So why don't we talk about it? That's what we're here for.
Right.
To talk
Speaking
about.
of which.
Yeah. Funny I should mention that. So I think there is this kind of a misconception maybe that online and remote working only appeared last year together with the pandemic, whereas of course it's not the case. So do you happen to know anything about when exactly remote working appeared? In your opinion, I don't think we can know the exact date.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I could guess that as soon as, some means of communication, such as, mail or telegram or something like that appeared. So at the same moment appeared some people who worked from home. I mean, it was not probably the same as today, but it was kind of close to it probably. Again, then telephone, then like internet, obviously. So it was growing like that, I think. My idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when it started, but definitely this is nothing new because even before the pandemic, I used to hear my students, they would say, especially those who work for the IT industry.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So they would say, I work from home. So basically, I'm in charge of, how to go about with my day. And, for a time I thought, that would be a nice idea to be working from home. Yeah,
I feel like too many people wish that, and then we had what we had.
Exactly. So at the time, without really fully understanding, what is involved in the dynamics of working from home, I thought to myself, wow, I'm so jealous of you that you can get to do that. And I really thought it was some kind of fancy thing or interesting thing to do, at least at the time being. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's nothing new. It has been done before. As to when it actually started, I don't have an answer to that, but it's nothing new.
Well, I guess we are going to be talking of remote working as online working then, because of course, remote working as,
as I said, actually,
as working from home. I mean, it existed for centuries. I mean, even before the Industrial Revolution, we had people who were carpenters or what is it, like leather workers.
Artists, writers.
Yeah, artists, writers, bakers or someone like that. They worked from home and then other people came to them. So we can say that, those were the trailblazers of remote working.
Exactly.
But
although today, I think it's equated to the idea of like working online. So I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear of somebody working from home.
Yeah, and I think that's just logical. And I think that's that's what I would like to focus on. And I think it's just logical if we do that.
Yeah.
Because of course there are people who work from home, meaning like, they bake things, maybe they do handmade, and that still would be, called remote working because they don't go to a factory maybe or some kind of a bakery. But so, and can you think of professions then that have always kind of been remote, have always, most of the time maybe been online or remote?
Okay, and let's just clarify that. When you say work remotely, not necessarily working from home, or are we limiting ourselves to that definition?
I think no. I think it's just as long as you don't go to the office itself or to the, some certain building where all the other workers of the company are. So it can be, as we sometimes like doing, let's say working from a co-working space, a cafe, another country even, So you can be wherever you are as long as you're not in the office. So how does that sound?
Okay.
Sounds okay? So you agree with it?
All
Okay.
Right. So just to be clear, because for a moment there, I thought about, call center representatives from other countries, by the way. So not necessarily in the country that, they're serving customers to. So, but anyway, so having cleared that up, so working from home, it could be any place, but you don't necessarily go to the office. The actual workplace.
That's the idea.
I've already mentioned earlier, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, those who work in the IT industry. To be quite honest with you, I don't know exactly what they do, but
I don't think anybody does.
So according to some of my students, they're given certain tasks to be done, and all they need to do is to, work it out. And then once the project is done, they can submit it to their superiors or whoever is in charge of this project. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Designers, probably web designers.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Web design. Designers in general.
Stuff,
I would, I used to think of designers as people who had to work with you, like, face to face. But maybe because, I kept thinking of designers as interior designers or, clothes designers. But now I have so many people who work as designers, be that web designers or, different people who work with, let's say, logos, ads, or what is called now UX designers. So people who work with the interface of an app and how it's going to look and everything. So most of them work remotely. Yeah.
Or something comes up. I just thought about maybe some writers, because I don't think you really have to be in, in the office writing down your stories or even news articles. I don't even.
Unless
there
you
should
talk
be
about
a publishing house, for example.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, but then again, if you are, I don't know, it depends on what kind of articles you write. So you can simply write it at home, even on vacation, right? And just type down whatever it is that you have to make. So that you can also work remotely in that case.
So these are, I think, the professions that have most of the time been remote.
Right.
And what about professions that you think will never be remote?
Well, obviously, construction workers, builders, come on, it's impossible. You're going to build a house or, a structure. You got to be there.
Well, I've been thinking about that, first I thought about, restaurant workers, waitresses, waiters, and so on. So, but, I thought about the future. Maybe everything will be automated, automated, and
it makes sense.
Maybe, even on the farm, there will be, I don't know, some milking devices. So you just press a
Pretty
button.
sure there are.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, look, I've been to Vegas and I've been to a bar where there were no workers. So basically, your cocktails were made by a machine. So it's like, you come to a bar or to a desk. So you push some buttons, it's like an iPad or something over there. So some touch screen. So you choose a cocktail and then a set of different, devices, kind of like arms. They kind of move, put everything into your glass and like mix it.
I understand. But then again, I don't think it falls under the category of working remotely. I think what you're saying is automizing.
Yeah,
like,
fair enough.
You can
Fair
stay at
enough.
home, you can go
Control-
anywhere. Yeah,
control the
it. Yeah, over your phone. I don't know. It would be like kind of amazing, I think. And
But yeah.
kind of like
but
distant
yeah.
future probably. But
So
who knows?
for now, then construction workers, who else?
But again, if we speak about like 3D modeling, so it might be being like done online also. I think.
Well, I can see that happening from a distant future.
Actually,
but who knows? Why not?
There are houses that have been built like that, like using
Already?
3D printers, yeah, and so on. Yeah, like in the USA, I think in
I don't
Silicon
know, I
Valley
don't know.
or
Well, I
somewhere
have
like
no
that.
idea either.
Yeah,
Neither
yeah,
have
I was
I.
surprised when I saw it. It was like,
I
whoa.
think for now, and I would say for now and in Russia, also doctors are most likely not to be,
Yeah.
Although, again, it depends on what exactly these doctors do. Because, for example, when I was making an appointment with my doctor, I had two options, offline meeting or online meeting. But online meeting would only involve, talking.
Yeah, this is just for
discussing their
consultation. It's
problem.
Yeah.
not the actual, analysis of what needs to be
surgeries or
analyzed.
anything like that.
So maybe some of these jobs would probably be done, partly remotely in case it's just, something like a consultation. But then again,
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be, many surgeons working online. Like, I don't think so.
Who knows? Maybe there will be some kind of machines, that will
I wouldn't trust
cut the
this
body.
machine. I don't know.
I
I wouldn't
wouldn't.
trust this machine with my sacred body.
Yeah, but it's our generation. Maybe the next generation will be okay with that.
Oh, let them do what they want. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah. All right. And so Ken, you said that you had IT work as a student, like, even before the pandemic, which is quite logical. So do you think that this remote working has changed much? So have your students maybe mentioned anything about it?
I don't think it has really changed much because then again, although there were times when they would go to the office, but it was even rarely, and especially nowadays, they don't really go there because basically the job can be done still online. And so the need to go to the office is not even, it's not even necessary at all. So I don't think it has changed. I don't think so, as far as they're concerned. But I don't know with
probably.
other jobs.
I think in general, I just assume that there must have been newer programs maybe, or some kind of software that made it easier. There must have been something. And I keep thinking about teaching, speaking from personal experience. If I think about 5 years ago, for example, I sometimes had lessons per Skype, so via Skype. And I always hated, how non-functional that was, and the constant lagging of the sound, of the video, of everything. And that was just so inconvenient to use.
Yeah, I agree.
And at that time, I'm not sure Zoom existed at the time. And if it did, we didn't know about that. But then now I look at the way we teach now, and I see how much, the technology has developed. So
That's true.
with so many websites, platforms, Zoom, all that. So now you're able to do almost the same amount of things that you usually do in your offline during your offline lessons.
Although, of course, perhaps, or I guess we're going to discuss later on how we truly feel about this because I have a lot to say about this. But I'm going to reserve it later on. So
I'm already intrigued, to be honest. You're like, I have a lot to say about this. So I can just guess. So actually, okay, why don't we then move to a more recent thing, which is COVID-19 and 2020, which screwed everything up for us. So first of all, how did people and how did you personally react to switching online? Because we didn't have much choice back then and people didn't have much choice but to switch. So what do you think? What do you know?
Well, I had been working online for a while before that happened, actually. So it wasn't like a really huge change to me. So I was already used to, using different platforms like Skype and so on. But I think, it was a bit confusing to only teach online because I've always been combining it, like online and offline, like I do now.
What was the
Ratio?
The ratio, yes.
Maybe 70 to 30, like 30% online, 70 offline. Yeah, but now I think now actually it's come back to its place, It's
70
kind of the
offline,
same,
30
because
online?
it is much more offline now. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
now that we finally have an option of switching back to
finally,
offline. So you didn't feel, like angry or sad or confused, to an extreme.
Yeah, just a little bit probably because, you still miss the human communication, I mean, face-to-face communication. And it's a huge minus of Zoom or Skype teaching. So, yeah, and also sometimes, like at the beginning, maybe I didn't know all the, sources that I could use to actually give proper lessons online. So, yeah. Also, I missed moving, because when you sit at the same spot for a long time, like maybe you have, for example, 3-4 classes, one after another, and you're so tired of sitting. You want to move, you want to go somewhere. Yeah, and it's like,
oh God, awful experience.
yeah.
So how did you feel when you had to switch online, Ken?
Okay, well, just like Natalie and yourself, by the way, I also had some online classes even from way back. When I believe when Skype was still relatively new at the time. So that was the late 2000s. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. I didn't even realize that, you can do teaching online because at the time, my students were Korean. So firstly, they came to the Philippines to study and then they wanted to continue, learning with me. So I would teach them through Skype. So I thought it was fun. I didn't have any problems with it. Now, when the pandemic happened, to be honest with you, I was kind of like pissed off. Pissed off because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lock myself up the entire time here in my flat. And I need some movement. I'm the kind of teacher who likes writing on the board. I know that it's possible to do that on Zoom because you have this, kind of like e-board, right?
Yeah.
But no, the experience with a marker and an actual whiteboard is far better. It's more realistic to me than doing it, say for example, on an e-board or online. The other thing was I was concerned about my students because, when there was a shift from offline to online lessons, suddenly they raised their concerns because according to them, the reason why they come to our school, like Big Apple School was to do offline lessons or classes because they prefer that. And some of them didn't even have any prior experience of doing online lessons. So I was kind of concerned also because not only for myself, but of course for the school and, because I thought, oh my God, we're going to lose students because some of them, are not used to this platform.
Yeah. And this misconception that online learning, it's
not real.
Yeah, it's not real. You're not getting, the material.
True.
It's lower quality, but it's a misconception. Well, I mean, yes, because it's new and people were kind of scared that there would be no point in these classes.
And so, I had to convince them that, no, you're going to enjoy it. Which
did you manage to?
Well, I'm okay. Modesty aside, and I'm glad to say that, they really enjoyed it. Although, of course, they still miss the real like face-to-face interaction. And the fact that you can really group them, say, for example, if you have group activities, so they can form a semicircle. you know.
I mean, you still can do it on Zoom, but it's not the same. And you
not.
can't supervise it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I would say, more challenging to do it, like, you know, online. What else do I have to say about it? Yeah, my eyes got tired from looking at the screen from,
so
you know, for the whole day.
Yeah,
and I just feel like I just want to close my eyes now. Like I'm tired.
And they're like, Mr. Monte, are you sleeping? Like, no, I'm just resting my eyes just for But yeah, I understand the struggle because, you know, the constant looking at the screen just makes you tired easier and faster.
True.
Mm-hmm. And I remember my struggle because the thing is that when the pandemic hit, it was the middle of the semester at Wellesley College, the US. The pandemic hit, so we had to leave campus. Everybody was given a notification like you have 2 weeks to leave the premises of campus and go back to your state, to your house and everything. So luckily that happened during the spring break. So we had 2 weeks you know, of a break, so no classes. And at that time, I was still trying to figure out whether I would stay in the country or whether I would go back. And I was really stressed before the, you know, the semester continued. And I took one of the last, as I thought at the time, one of the last flights back to Mother Russia. So, and then I came back and the reality hit me because, you know, I was in Russia teaching my American students with an 11-hour difference in time. So we usually, luckily, we had classes at like 8:30, 11, 12. So I was teaching, you know, at midnight. And then one of the lessons was until 3 a.m.
Oh,
wow.
God.
So you can imagine what it was like, you know, like I had to do that. And, you know, it was the struggle of teaching online. Getting around Zoom, trying to understand how everything works. Then it was the middle of the night. So I had to plan my day in such a way that I would wake up later, you know, so I was slowly turning into a night owl. But then at the same time, I was also working. Well, I started to get classes here in Russia with my Russian students who learn English. So I had lessons in the morning sometimes, lessons in the afternoon, and then lessons until like 2, 3 a.m.
Wow.
So luckily, it was not 5 days a week. It was like 4 days a week. And then some of my classes, my professor with whom I was co-teaching, he allowed me not to be present during the classes just because it coincided. I had a time conflict. And I told him, look, I will try to, but I can't promise you anything. And he said, I understand. So, and then I also had Zoom and I had a group of 6 students. So now, you know, when you have 6 students who, well, are pre-intermediate students. So what do you do during your lessons? I mean, offline. You mostly, you know, pair them up, put them in groups. So they speak, or I love mingling. So, you know, when you put, you know, the whole group stands up and you say, find a person who. Love that. But then I had 6 students sitting, you know, in their houses being really depressed because everything, you know, went down the hill in the world. And the thing is that there is this thing that I hate about online classes is that, especially at college students. So the thing is that they turned off their mics.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
Yes, and
Not
the
just
video
microphone.
all the time.
And you can even see them sometimes. It's
and you just look at
annoying.
yourself and it's like you're a crazy person talking to yourself, actually.
Right? So, and then, you know, I realized that the way it usually goes in a classroom, it's like you ask a question. So it's like, what do you think happened next? Somebody answers, then somebody else joins. In there, they were just keeping quiet. So you had to actually point out people.
Right.
Like, Claire, what do you think? The person would switch on the mic,
takes so
answer,
much time.
switch off the mic. And then I had to have a conversation like, guys, you know, usually when we are in a classroom, we don't, you know, turn around with our back to the teacher once we answer. So let's not do that in our online environment as well. Please keep your mics on.
But it makes sense because there is so much noise, you know, if somebody doesn't turn off the mic, so there might be some, you know, scratching or some different noises, you know, so...
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes students are unaware that, you know, the small noises that they make can actually disrupt a class even. For example, if they're using their mobile phones, their smartphones to do the online lesson. So they pick up the phone, they try to press something there, or if, there's a phone call. So it's really distracting, but they're not even aware of that.
Yeah, or the sound of the keyboard as well. But then, once you tell them, and explain to them, you can work this out still. Yeah. But at the beginning, God, I was thinking like, okay, how can I, organize my lesson in such a way that everyone gets to say something? They don't mute their mics, God, it was such a struggle.
I know.
And that was the first time in my entire life that I taught a group online. Because with one-to-one classes, it's easier, right? You just talk to a person.
Yeah.
But oh God.
The struggles of online teaching.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah. So, but what do you think? So if we're not talk only about teaching, but about different areas, different spheres and different companies. So it's now been more than a year since we had this 2-week quarantine. Happy anniversary. So do you think we will get back to where we where we set off with only offline? Or is remote working here with us to stay forever?
Maybe we will come back, but not entirely probably. Like maybe we still will go to the office, but maybe we'll also work online. Especially maybe not us, but people who can like I don't know, like again, IT workers, people who can, not go to the office. So,
I think that we will try to go back to the way life that we knew before the pandemic. But I think there are also some businesses that have flourished during the time of the pandemic, such that they will continue doing the business the way that they have done, since the beginning of the pandemic. In the same way that if, for example, if teaching is concerned, I guess there will still be some students. For example, right now, it's happening right now because I do have some students who, now they seem to like the idea of online teaching or online learning. And so they do that. Even though they have the option to come here to actually, have it face-to-face, but now they prefer doing it online. And I thought, oh, okay, so whatever makes you happy.
I am one of those people,
yeah, me too,
I think.
actually.
Because if I think, about, let's say, having a lesson offline, 1-to-1, 1 hour long. So a student has to, especially if they have a car, drive here, desperately try to find a parking spot, fail at it, get mad, pissed off, come to the lesson, have just 1 hour, then drive back, probably in a traffic jam, get home, tired, make lunch. Whereas now, you can just be in your home.
Right.
Yeah.
Waiting for your food delivery to be delivered, right after the lesson to have dinner or something. Wearing comfy clothes. So I kind of see why people prefer to stay. And I used to have Spanish classes offline. And I always thought like, okay, I usually had my Spanish classes during the breaks. So I was thinking, okay, I have a 2-hour break here at Big Apple School. So it takes me half an hour to go to the lesson, half an hour to get back, 1 hour lesson. Will I make it to my next class on time? I was always, anxious about being late to school. But yeah, and now I think if I get back to Spanish, I'm definitely doing that online.
Yeah. You see, so what I'm trying to say is that as much as we want to go back to the life that we used to know, I think we won't be able to fully, replicate that, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how, if you remember the time when the pandemic just started, many office workers had to go through these 5 stages, like denial, anger, bargain, like, may I just come to the office once a week?
Yeah.
And then acceptance. And I have first an example of a person I know well, second the example of some companies. So I have a friend, and at first she was like, oh no, I miss office. I don't want to be at home. It's so uncomfortable. Then she started her working space at home. And about a month ago, the remote working way just ended. So they were made to move back to the office. And she says, oh, I hate it. I hate it so much now. So many people, the noise, the water cooler chat, the constant banter. Like, oh God, may I just come back to my home? So of course, people are different, the preferences are different, but it's not funny, but it's interesting to see what companies do.
Right.
Because I have an example of two companies, one of them being Mail.ru. So, and because they now are thinking between three regimes, let's say, so three ways of working. So, and then they can change according to the wishes of the workers, because one of them is just full remote working. But the company will bring you everything, well, as they did at the beginning of the pandemic. So ergonomic chairs, some desks, and then the workers can visit the office whenever they want. If they don't want to, they can just stay at home all the time working remotely. The second one is like classic office work, when the workers have to come to office every single day, 5 days per week. So no remote working. The second one is a hybrid. So, which means that part of the week, some days you work remotely, you work from home, and then some of the days you have to be in the office.
Right.
Like, so, and they give this, choice.
Right.
So, and I think this is like, a smart way.
I think it is. Yeah.
I know they're also going, well, until the pandemic is over, they're going to separate the working space into different zones so that people still, have social distancing, that they do not have to sit like, 10 centimeters away from each other. So, and I think this is so smart, a smart move to do. Whereas I know that, my friend works at Intel, and she says that so far they're going to keep the remote working way until the end of the summer. And then they're thinking about switching to remote working completely. And it's kind of logical if we think about that, because it helps companies save so much money.
True. Of course.
Although, just a bit of criticism, by the way, I also remember some of my students who, would complain about, for example, if there's like a project, so collaborative work, before, when they used to just work in the office, it would be easy to communicate with each other, because it's like real time. I have something to discuss with you. I'm going to discuss it now, so I can go to you directly. But with online, sometimes, they choose to wake up a little later because, so I guess somehow the communication suffers a bit, unless they find a way to regulate, the dynamics, such that if there is something urgent and I want to speak to this person, then I will be able to get my message through without having to wait for his reply in the messenger or whatever.
It's like, well, it's pros and cons, and we're just going to get to that a little bit, just a little bit later. But in general, it depends, and there are so many criteria. So on the one hand, it's easier to talk in person. On the other hand, when you deal with a person through messages and emails, you have proof of what you have talked about.
Well,
and they're like, I never told you that, or, you forgot, and you're like, here's the message, the screenshot folder, the proof. Yeah. So, and what can you say about your experience since the pandemic? So have you noticed any kind of changes in you, or the way you teach, the way you prefer doing something? So let's, do a little bit of a reflection of the last year.
Well, I don't know, actually. Maybe there were some changes, but it's hard to, realize them.
The first thing that comes to mind is if we talk about somehow I have I don't know if it's the right time now to discuss the pros and cons about should I say it now, or
why don't we actually then talk about pros and cons, and then include our experience in that.
Exactly.
So
because on the one hand, I kind of appreciate it, especially if I have morning classes. So before, when I used to go to NGS or other offices
at 8:30 a.m.
Right.
Oh God, I remember that.
I
mean, lovely group. I love them, but at the same time, waking up
early, and then the fact that you have to travel in order to get to their office. So
God, I can't imagine that. Seriously,
I had to run like a horse. But now it's like, oh, okay, I have time in the world, all the time in the world, because now I'm going to do it online.
So we can then say that one of the biggest pros and advantages of remote working is no excessive commuting.
True.
So, and no commuting at all. So we can save time.
Yeah, no wasting time actually.
And I think we can connect this, no commuting, which means no putting on layers and layers of clothes and then getting the hell out,
Right.
when it's minus
Especially
40.
in Siberia,
This winter, which happened to be extremely cold. So we had so many days when it was minus 35, minus 40. I woke up and started working with the phrases like, thank you, God, that this year I don't have to step outside into this misery of the weather.
True.
Like I
agree, of course.
I think this is one of the greatest pros of remote working. Yeah.
That's why, even though I said a couple of negative things teaching online, but that's one of the things that I can appreciate about it, because this time around my time is not wasted having to travel just to go to the office of the class that I should be teaching. So that's one. Now, what else do I appreciate about online teaching? Although it's nothing new to me also, because I've done it before.
It's just the ratio has changed, how much you teach online.
Right. The other thing is that whenever I want to share something, for example, at this very moment, I suddenly, think of, wait, I want to show you something. And then I can just jump to one website, say, for example, YouTube, and show the video immediately. Yeah.
So it's easier to share very often.
True. What else? Okay, some of the good things.
Well, we don't have to stick to only good things. We can just jump from one to the other and then just kind of summarize it.
And I know it's a bit embarrassing to say this, because at first, I told
Natalie,
myself...
are you intrigued what he's going to say? I'm intrigued.
I told myself that, okay, you still have to be like professional. You have to dress up like a real teacher, the way you always do. Like when you go to school,
Just admit it, you are wearing pajama pants.
Sure. Let me finish.
Oh my God, yes.
So in the early days of online teaching, as in, full-time online teaching, I would really still wear my pants,
Really?
Yeah, really. Because I thought, I'm a professional teacher and I will dress the way I always do. And then it struck me like, why do I have to do this? Anyway, they don't, they're not going to see the lower half of my body. and that's when I thought, well, it won't hurt if I wear shorts. It's not like, they're not gonna know it anyway. And there are some days, not all days, just to be clear, when I just, it doesn't matter what you wear on the bottom half of your body. So it's just the upper half. Yeah, that's more important. But I still make myself presentable.
Of course.
Have you seen the Zoom call suits, as they're called? So, it's like yoga pants or pajama pants, and then a
white
jacket
shirt,
and white shirt on top. Yeah,
I know.
We've all, been guilty of that. Let's be fair.
Yes.
Let's be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, what about you? Have you noticed any kind of changes in the way you teach in yourself, maybe?
Yeah. Again, we're speaking about pros and cons of teaching online. I think, again, I like movement, because you can always stand up. You can always, draw something on the whiteboard. You can always, use your gestures also, because of course you can use your hands like on Zoom, but it's going to be weird.
Have you noticed I'm very emotional.
Yeah.
So I gesticulate a lot. I just in general move a lot. But I also remember that the camera is kind of up. So I have to do that, way up.
For everyone to see.
For everyone to see. Well, I can't, make them miss all my movements.
Yeah, and it feels so weird, really, when you're like a dinosaur,
T-Rex.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true. That's true. Okay.
Yeah, also, commuting, obviously, it's not really convenient all the time, but I also missed it, somehow. So because it's kind of, you go to, I don't know, even if you take taxi, so you see the city. You see the people around you. But when you sit at the same spot in a house, so you just see the same, window, same wall, same, I don't know, desk, the same bed. Yeah. And it's like, it's so boring, seriously. So it killed me sometimes, just,
For me, this is the biggest con, to be honest, which is not moving. Even though, okay, look, I'm lazy. I don't like moving that much. Like, I admit it. But all this pandemic and me not moving, because when I was at Wellesley, for example, it took me 15, 20 minutes walking on beautiful campus to get to work. Then later when I was here in Novosibirsk, when I was still working at school, offline, I had to also spend like 15, 20 minute walking, which was amazing. So, and I love working from home, but also 1 year of pandemic led to me gaining around 10 kilos of extra weight, like 9, 10, because I realized that I don't move much. It's like from the bedroom to the living room to the kitchen and, circulating. Sometimes, it's like, okay, I have a couple of hours of a break. Maybe I should go for a walk. Yeah.
Oh. I'm so sorry. I just want to add, because it just, popped my mind. Regarding, again, online teaching. Yeah. So working remotely, I just suddenly remembered because I used to have very noisy neighbors, upstairs neighbors, by the way. And I remember, oh my God, I had to mute my microphone whenever, I can, because I didn't want my students to hear the noise. And it
makes sense.
Really, it pissed me off. And not just that, the drilling of my neighbor to the right. It's like, oh my God, I want to go to school now. So, to avoid all these things.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see, that is another disadvantage. But fortunately, at least for now, everything's quiet. But I don't know how long.
Well, maybe
this
they
is
have finished the
gonna last.
renovation.
Yeah. Well, you never know, because, people will always have something to repair on. So, yeah.
I think one more con that we can mention about online working in general is that very often when we work in an office or at school, we have nice chairs, whereas how many of us do actually have like ergonomic or nice chairs at home?
I got one actually.
Well,
I had to.
Exactly. So you had to. So I didn't have one until, let's say, 3 or 4 months into remote working, when my fiance got me a nice chair. And before that, I had terrible backache. Like, honestly, I was just, sometimes during my breaks, I would just lie on the floor, just because it was so painful. And I think this is something that a lot of people who work remotely face, because a lot of them work out of bed, they're on the sofa, on a chair, which are not for working and sitting on, sitting in for like 10 hours. So,
but I mean, even if it's like an ergonomic chair, still it's not good to stay seated for like a long time.
True.
So,
yeah, that's true.
You have to do, some exercise, but honestly, who does that? Like on the regular basis.
I've seen some people who actually, it was a funny video, but then I found out that a lot of people still do that. Not teachers, but people who just work from a laptop. So they kind of like, the video goes, a person is sleeping, the alarm clock is ringing, they switch off the alarm clock, immediately open the laptop and start working. And I was joking, with some of my students, they're like, yeah, I've done that several times. I'm like, are you serious? Like, yeah, the laptop was next to my bed, like on a bedside table. So I just picked it up and started working. So, and then you can imagine you are lying. So you're kind of working while lying. So yeah, it's so bad for your neck and for your back.
Yeah.
And one more thing, by the way, it's not just, not for me at least, because I don't have pets at home, but every once in a while, some of my students, their pets would interrupt the class. One example in particular is, I don't think I need to mention his name, but anyway, individual lesson. So he has this cat. And every time he turns on the computer and, starts the lesson, it's like, oh my God, does your cat want to join us? I mean, she can learn English if she wants.
I've seen a picture, and my student has kind of done the same thing. So the cat jumps on the table and she's like, you haven't paid for your English lessons. You're not going to learn English. But, I mean, to me, it's not as much of a bad side as a good
Yeah,
side.
it's
No.
funny.
I'm
I
like,
mean,
I have a student, she has pugs.
Oh.
And, she's like, yeah, I have a pug. Do you want to see? I'm like, yes, please.
yes. I'm the
Like, if
same.
you have a dog, please show me your dog. It goes, without saying, a part of a syllabus.
I actually really enjoy that. And sometimes I talk to the cat like, Mimi, what do you want to learn for today?
Yeah, every time I see a cat or a dog, I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
I know, it's
Same.
fun. It's fun. Although one of my students' cat, she kind of goes behind the laptop and tries to close the lid. She's a real attention
Against it,
seeker, like
Yeah.
a real attention seeker. But yeah, but every time, so now I have a new group at Wellesley, and when we had the first lesson, it's like getting to know each other and stuff. And I'm like, do you have a dog or do you have any pets? And some of my students like, yeah, I have a dog. I'm like, can you show? They're like, oh, you love dogs, don't you? I'm like, oh yeah. That's.
I'm a
first thing.
huge animal lover, so
Yeah, same.
I do appreciate
Yeah.
pets.
But yeah, it might be not as great for the students who do have pets, when they're in the middle of a very serious call,
Especially work calls, probably.
Yeah,
Maybe not
yeah.
lessons, but like work calls,
With this, can you imagine like talking to the CEO of the company? Oh my God, have you seen this video
Yeah.
which has been viral where there was some kind of it was way before the pandemic. So there was a video with some kind of a minister from Britain, and he was giving an interview in a
Yeah,
room,
I remember
and then
something
suddenly,
like
his two toddlers,
Ah,
like
yeah. Oh
babies,
my
run
God.
in.
Yeah, I
and his
know that
wife is like
video.
terrified, just runs in to pick them up, and he just tries to
God.
keep a straight face, but he can't. Oh my God, that was so funny. Yeah. So okay, so good sides: no excessive commuting. Bad sides: we can have backache, so we need a good chair. Less walking. So gaining some weight, for example.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So what else can be good and bad sides?
Are we limiting to online teaching or just
Online
just
working.
working?
Working.
Oh,
Yeah,
working.
not teaching, but working
Yeah,
in
yeah.
general.
Some other good points. Well, your kitchen is right next to you.
Yeah.
Have you just not heard me saying gaining weight? Are you sure it's a good side?
Well,
I can name one that I have experienced, and I think this is the first time in my life that has happened. So the thing is that when we were all like only working offline, so 100% of my students were from Novosibirsk, obviously, because the school is in Novosibirsk.
Yeah,
I teach
that's
in
true.
Novosibirsk.
Yeah.
Where else could they be
Right,
from?
right.
Yeah.
But now I have students from all over the country and the world. I have
Same,
students who live in
same.
Cyprus,
Whoa.
I know, in the US, in Spain, and they're just fantastic. So you are no longer limited to just your city or your country.
That's
And I
true.
think that's what a lot of people love now, because a lot of people try to find a job with a foreign country so that they get paid in like
Exactly.
euros or dollars, but they still live in Russia, which is,
True.
Yeah.
that is another advantage. Yeah, I mean, it broadens your opportunities.
Exactly. So you have way more job opportunities, learning opportunities, whatever, you name it.
Right.
And I love it. I love the fact that this
Yeah,
is what
course.
the pandemic basically has given us.
And not just from the perspective of the teacher or whoever it is that's working, but if we talk about students as well, they can choose teachers from all over the world now because
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
online teaching is, possible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are so many different options too. And so for example, not so long ago, I was looking for an English teacher for myself. I know. I knew that it would be impossible to find a teacher like that in Novosibirsk because I needed someone not to teach me the words or the grammar, because this is not something I need help with, but I needed someone who could teach me how to write articles. So science. So
Right.
I needed someone who was not an English teacher as such,
Right.
but who was a literary teacher or academic writing teacher. There's nobody in Novosibirsk who you could
course.
find.
Yeah.
So, and trust me, I have gone through like 100 profiles of teachers from all over the world until I found the one whom I can no longer afford, but that's another thing.
And then, sorry, I just want to add, like, I'm also happy that we have such a thing now as webinars, because before my idea of, wanting to update my knowledge is to attend literally seminars to actually go on site, right? But for example, with British Council, they have free webinars, and I'm just fortunate to be able to find some of the topics that I was interested in, and so I was able to, attend the webinar without being in the UK per se.
I know.
So
I know.
that's another
Yeah.
advantage.
And with, all these websites like Coursera and edX
I
and
love
whatnot.
it so much. It's
So you're able not
convenient.
just to watch one webinar, but take a whole course.
Right.
Exactly. And usually it's free. I mean, unless you want a certificate.
But even if it's not, it still would be cheaper than going to a country,
obviously.
like
I mean, I've been taking like a Yale, course, like finance course. And I mean,
just so you understand, if you're a student at Yale, it would cost you like $5,000 per semester.
Exactly. And it was free.
So, yeah. But I have realized that there are so many bad sides as well to online working, not only teaching, but working as such. So, for example, very often, I do not know about you guys, but the work-life balance suffers. Because you might think like, oh, I'm going to be working from home because I kind of can, spend more time doing my things. But then you realize that, if usually your workday ends at 6 p.m., you leave at 6 p.m., max like 6:30. But when you're at home, you kind of check an email here, do something there. You're like, oh, my dinner will be ready like in an hour so I can still do some work. And I decided to track the amount of work that I do, just literally every single time I started doing anything for work, I would turn on the timer. So to see, and I've realized that on average, I spend like at least 7 hours more than I used to with the same workload. So yeah, it's very difficult to keep this work-life balance very often for a lot of people.
And then, in terms of, I would say the variety of the things that you get to see, because if you just work at home, I mean, remotely.
That's what I mentioned. Kind of.
It's like you don't, it's hard to appreciate your environment. Even the simple, journey moving from one place to another and see different faces. I don't know, you seem to lose that opportunity. I know it's too simple, but some people can appreciate seeing the blue skies.
I would even say not only seeing people on the street, but in general. So remote working takes the chance of meeting new people. Because let's say when we are here at school, well, again, if we apply this to our experience, when we are here at school, we see other teachers, maybe new teachers who sometimes get here, somebody else's students. We talk to people.
Right.
Yeah.
So we meet new people, or if we usually somebody works in an office, they still can get, to meet other colleagues or somebody else. Now, if your company gets a new colleague, you might not even know they exist.
Exactly.
Right.
So, yeah. But on the other hand, something that can be a good side of remote working is that very often it helps you to allocate time to side projects. If this is not something you can usually do when you work in an office, then when you're at home, if you're able to, manage your time well, why not? You can allocate your time to some side projects as well.
Yeah.
So, but is remote working easier than offline working? And we're not only talking about teaching, remember?
I don't know, really. It depends.
It depends on the job, and it depends on how you have adjusted to the idea of, working remotely. Because if you're the type who is more like a homebody, and you prefer to be at home, even though you have the, for example, the opportunity to go out, but you'd rather be, at home, then I guess it will work for you. But for people who are, let's say, sociable, who prefer, face-to-face interaction, I don't think they will enjoy the idea for a long time.
Have you ever noticed that have you ever become more tired from working over Zoom than from working offline?
Surprisingly, yes. I thought that I would be better rested because basically I'm just sitting in front of the computer and just speaking. But I just realized lately, like, it makes me tired.
Yeah.
Do you know that there's a name to this phenomena? So it's called Zoom fatigue. So
Makes sense, actually, yeah.
And the psychologists say that, of course, at first we would expect, to become or to be less tired than from working offline. But no. So because of this Zoom fatigue, first of all, you have to think more when you speak and when you do something, because you have to not only keep in mind what you're saying, but also that you are heard well, that you are seen well. So then this thing of not seeing real people, but seeing, these little squares on a screen. So that does not, make you feel connection. So you spend more emotion, more emotions, more mental strength maybe on it. And then it also said that that has led to people thinking more about how they look.
Yeah.
Because you see yourself. When you have like a video call, you don't only see, another person, but you see yourself.
Right.
So some people say that they have started to think more about how they look. And
They
they're
become
like,
more self-conscious. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially about their
'cause you
appearance.
keep seeing yourself in that. So that's why
I think that might be true, actually. Yeah, because you always you keep looking at yourself. all
Yeah,
the
you
time.
got-
Just
even
think,
if you try not
my
to.
hair looks not properly.
you still peek at this
Yeah.
little square
Of
with
course,
your image.
Of course.
That's why when I have some students and when they have internet connection failure, they're like, what if we switch off the video? I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, oh, but then I won't see you. I'm like, you're not losing anything. Trust me. That's fine. But
Oh, well.
so now you can be sure that it's not you
Yeah,
strangely
everybody's
getting
like
more
that.
tired. No, it's Zoom fatigue kicking in.
I thought for a minute there that you would say, it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's Zoom.
Oh, it's Zoom. Exactly.
Oh my. So we've mentioned one of the problems as being, unable to balance your work and your life. So do you think, what tips can we think of to keep this work-life balance when you are working online, when you're working remotely?
Maybe set the time when you don't work anymore. For example, 6 p.m. I don't do any work after that.
So kind of log out,
That
that's
doesn't
it.
work, actually. Usually.
So you're like, that's a good tip for you guys, for dear listeners, but it doesn't work, so don't bother trying it.
I mean, you could try. Yeah, but for me, it doesn't work. Usually, yeah, because I still want to look for some articles for my students to read, for some videos, I don't know, to make a plan of a lesson,
Quickly answer to an email here, quickly do something there.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, that would be a good thing if you at least try to stick to some kind of a schedule. Yeah, so control the time you work. What else might help?
For work-life balance, yeah? Because, I don't know, for me, whether the work is online or not, it's still a matter of discipline, because if you know how to control yourself, not just how to manage time well, you will still achieve to a certain degree this so-called work-life balance, because I don't think it's about the platform, because what we're talking about, this is just a change of the platform. This time around, you're doing it online, but basically the whole idea, I guess, is still the same. If you know how to manage your time well, and that you are disciplined enough to strictly follow your schedule and still give yourself some time off to go out, see your friends, and do something interesting about your life, I think that is still, achievable, even though you have shifted online.
I would also say that, since a lot of people, work out of bed, in the kitchen, while making dinner, whatnot, I would say that what might help is having a certain assigned workspace. So, for example, here's your desk. This is your working territory. So if you're there, you work. If you want to work, it's only, at this place. I used to have, at my previous apartment that I was renting, I had a very cool desk, and I had a rule: if I'm working at the desk, not in the kitchen, not on the sofa, right at that place. So I still dream of setting my online workspace better, so maybe have something, well, I do not know, just so that I don't have the temptation to move to the sofa or to the chair or to the bed.
This is actually a very practical idea, and if I could have it my way, if I could design, for example, my flat or my house, I would have like one room, like this is the work room. It's like the office.
Yeah.
Whenever I come here, it's strictly for work. But once I'm done with work, I get out of this room, then I get to do my personal life and do other things that
In my case, it's like 1 square meter corner, but okay.
I mean, at least,
I would love to have something like that. Yeah.
Of course, ideally, if you could do that, why not? Yeah.
So now, after 1 year of working remotely, of switching, back to offline, what can you say? So what do you in general prefer? Solely offline, strictly online, a little combination of both? And if so, what's the ratio that you would like to have?
Yes, for me personally, it's the combination. Yeah, like 30-70, yeah.
So the one that you're currently having is perfect
Yeah, it's
for
good.
you.
Yeah,
Amazing. Amazing. Ken, what about you?
Well, I also like the idea of hybrid work. Although the ratio would be maybe 40% online, 60%, like face-to-face, because I move a lot and I like moving. And it's impossible to show every movement, onto the screen for the students to appreciate.
I would say, well, if we're talking about, the perfect situation, I would love to have most of my, like 90% of my lessons online, because again, I enjoy, working with people from other countries, but at the same time to have group lessons offline. So one-to-one online, totally fine with me, but group lessons, because I now don't have groups. I have one group, which is at Wellesley. So thus we have also online classes. But also I miss teaching groups offline just because I have so many games, cards, like all these things you can, the handouts. So I love that and I miss that. And now I think so my college is very optimistic about the way things are going to be. So, and they say that most likely everyone will be back on campus in September, but with a social distancing. We'll keep the social distancing most likely. So, and now I think like, okay, I'm going to be back offline, hopefully. Let's all hope about that and pray to all the gods about that. But at the same time, I think, okay, how can I change my games and all the handouts so that we can still use them in the classroom, have some fun with the social distancing. So, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, at the same time, I would think that would be really perfect if, for example, I had some place, to teach offline. At the same time, I had a mini office to teach online with, I imagine it, because I browse Pinterest a lot. So I saw some pictures, of white interiors, but everything is so practical and functional, that everything is within reach, but with the, nice background. So students do not get distracted. That's what I have now. And that's what I'm really grateful for, but still.
Right.
All right. All right. And what about, so do you know about such people as downshifters?
Yeah. As far as I know, there are people who quit their jobs, like real jobs, let's call them. So, yeah. And just go to, I don't know, warm places or nice places to work there.
So do you think you'll be able to do that? Well, I mean, move to another country for the winter, somewhere warm and work, on the beach.
That's actually my dream, especially, we're in Siberia and sometimes, going to work, if I have to do the work, on site, I sometimes wish I could be in some, warmer place. Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want such? I mean, I do.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be great.
Like a little deck maybe, or something like a little house on the beach so that, you don't have sand everywhere and in your keyboard when you work because, But I'm
sounds perfect. Yeah, like a small house somewhere in a remote area. Yeah, nobody around you. Yeah, sounds like a paradise for an introvert.
Yeah, for an introvert. Yeah, I would never love to do that. No.
Yeah, it would be hard.
Probably.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not the kind of person who loves, beaches and remote areas or something like that. So, no.
Yeah, I would go there, for a month or 2 months maybe, and then go back to like.
Well, that's what, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they do. They go to spend the winter somewhere warm and then they get back. So yeah, I have some questions to our listeners now. So, I have a lot of them. So first of all, would you do something like that, like to go to another country for the winter? And if so, what would be your country of choice? And the second question is a little bit bigger, which is, so can you tell us about your experience? So do you work offline or online? And if so, what do you prefer? Do you like working offline/online? So leave comments in, any platform where you listen to a podcast, preferably on VK, because that's where we all answer, I think, and love to communicate sometimes. So yeah, we'll be really looking forward to your stories. I love talking. So please join me for a conversation. See, I don't have enough conversation. Please do that. So, all right. So, Ken, Natalie, so what would be your main takeaway from this episode? What are you going to remember this episode by?
Lots of complaining about remote working.
Damn it. So you're going to have negative memories of this?
No. I mean, it's good to vent,
Probably to find ways to work things out because as they say, this might be the new normal. I'm not sure until when the situation will be because I don't think the virus is going away anytime soon since vaccines have not been distributed yet all over the world. So we're going to expect to have the same situation, not even in months, but even probably in years, in a few years. So the only thing that I can, talk about regarding our podcast today is, yes, online work may not be perfect, but perhaps we can find a way to, work things out such that we don't live miserable lives and we still get to enjoy the work that we do, even though it is remotely, regardless of what kind of work it is.
Yeah.
I would.
There must be some positive things, of course.
There has to
There
be.
are.
Yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, that would be, I think, my takeaway from this. So try to find positive things in any kind of working environment you have, any kind of situation. So, all right.
There you go.
Well, that was the Big Apple School podcast, and today we discussed working remotely. Thank you for listening, and remember, if you struggle to understand our conversation, you're always welcome to our website, which is bigappleschool.com/podcast, so you can find full scripts of each episode there. Very user-friendly. So make sure to check this out. Also, if you want to get more content which will help you learn English, feel free to subscribe to our social media such as VK, YouTube, Telegram. Just search our name in any platform. Remember, this is Big Apple School. So that was Katja, and my guests for today were
Ken
and
Natalie.
Stay tuned, and we'll see you around.